Yeah, good morning, John and Taryn. We're live from the Cornhusker downtown Lincoln, Nebraska for the big AFAN meeting. And what is the future of agriculture, and how do you make sure everything's moving in the right direction? Those are some of the questions that will be asked today. And joining us now is Dr. Alison Van Enennaam from the University of California, Davis, a guest speaker here. Thanks for joining us. We're talking a lot about these meetings and communication, right? Is that the focus today?
It is, yes. So I'm an animal geneticist, work in animal science, and of course that's a very controversial topic. And so one of the things I'm focusing on is how best to communicate that particular topic to the general public as an audience.
It seems like we have a lot of controversial topics these days anymore, so it does put a premium on getting the message out.
Right. Well, as a scientist working in animal science, I figured I better get good at communicating, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to use any technologies in animal agriculture. And so there's this huge divide between the urban and rural audiences, and I think that's kind of part of the role of Extension, is to bridge that gap and try to explain why technologies are used and the trade-offs associated with not using or using technologies, and that often gets lost in the discussion. It tends to be more black, white, yes, no, good, bad, and agriculture is not like that. It's more nuanced.
Do you find that getting the message out is almost as important as doing the actual work?
Well, increasingly what worries me is we can do the work, but if we can't use that innovation, then why bother? And so to me, part of my job is to try to talk about the technology, to actually try to enable the license to use the technology in animal agriculture. And so if you make a 1% improvement using technology, but you've got a 10% setback because you get something precluded from being used, you've made 9% negative. And so, you know, we really need, it's a really important message, because to me, using technology really enables us to be more efficient and to decrease the environmental footprint of agriculture, which I would argue is a shared value of almost everybody. And so I think often people vote against technologies without realizing the actual implications of precluding access to that technology.
Which makes meetings like this all the more important, when you get groups of folks together and you can raise the education level.
Right. Well, I think not only groups of agricultural producers like we've got here with the Alliance, but also having the discussion with the urban population. And there is a big divide there. And
yes.
I speak to all these audiences, and I think it's really important to have someone that can broker the information between the audiences.
Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. That's just the tip of the iceberg of what's going on here at the AFAN meeting. Coming up in about a half an hour, we'll be talking to the pork producers about some of the different things they'll be talking about. The meeting goes all day long, and we will be here. We'll send it back to you for now in the studio, John and Taryn.
Okay.